Hi, and welcome to Pet Pals. Every week we showcase animals at the Frederick County Division of Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center that are looking for forever homes. I'm Linda Shea, our Division Director, and with me is Randy Cooper. First little dog we're going to take a look at is named True. He is a pit bull mix. True is about 6 months old and was turned in by his owners due to landlord issues. Part of the adoption process at the shelter is to check with landlords. If you do rent, we want to make sure that the animal you've chosen is agreeable with your landlord. We certainly strive to, when we adopt animals, to make that adoption last forever and to enforce just the commitment that it takes to have an animal for its entire life. But True is with us now. Again, about 6 months old, so he's got some manners on board. As you can see, he sits. He usually will drop food or toys for you. And he's been around younger children. He's been around an older dog, so he's got good bite inhibition. He's got just a good foundation as far as socialization and personality. He's about 43 pounds. We've brought him up to speed on the vaccines that he needs. Prior to leaving here, he will be neutered. He'll be microchipped. He's already had some preventatives, and all of those things are included in his adoption. The adoption fee for our puppies, which are dogs that are a year and under, is $150, and that does include the neutering, the microchip, the preventative vaccines, the rabies vaccine included in that. Any medical care that they need, certainly boarding and certainly feeding and taking care of them during their stay at the shelter. And we also have for puppies what we call our puppy process, meaning that we take up to 4 applications per puppy just to kind of screen and make the best match that we can. But this little guy is named True. If you're interested, we want you to come in and visit with him. This handsome guy is named Oreo, appropriately, the black and white. He's about 3 years old, and he was surrendered by an owner, and there's really no reason that's put in his paperwork. So unfortunately, the only thing we know about Oreo is what we've observed here at the shelter. He tends to be a little more stoic in his presentation. As you can see, he's very agreeable to being handled, to being petted. He does enjoy interaction with people. We do have him marked as older children or adult home only. And a lot of times when we have those designations, it's not necessarily anything that the dog has demonstrated that he doesn't like kids, but we don't know his background. He's pretty big. He's about 62 pounds, and he is a little bit guarded, that has that stoic personality, not a typical happy-go-lucky type of dog. So in that sense, we just consider it safer if he were to go to a home with experience with dogs, and preferably not small children. Small kids, we just know that they are what they are, and a lot of times they get enthusiastic with dogs. They will grab ears and tails, and I'm not sure that that's something that Oreo would appreciate or tolerate. He did arrive here with an ear infection, so we've gone ahead and treated that. Whenever animals arrive here, sometimes they're not in the best physical condition, so we perform an exam. We make sure that they are healthy, and if they need any treatment, we do provide that. Sometimes there's a misunderstanding of what shelters actually do, and our shelter is pretty progressive as far as the vet care that we can provide to animals. We work with our local veterinarians if we notice there's an ear infection or something else that they might need treatment or diagnostics. We'll make sure that they get vet care to take care of that. So again, this is Oreo. He's only about 3 years old, was owner surrendered. I suggest if you're looking for an affectionate dog that's a little bit serious, he would be an excellent choice. This little girl is Cindy, and sometimes we do showcase animals that have been on Pet Pals previously. So if she looks familiar, she probably is. But Cindy is about 7 to 8 years old, and sometimes what we notice is that dogs, especially that tend to be older, and older meaning over 5 years old, tend to get overlooked. But Cindy is only about 7 to 8 years old, and for a small breed, we can expect her to live, another, until she's about 15, 16 or more years old, because she is a smaller breed. She's only about 14.5 pounds, and Cindy was originally turned in by an owner who did not have enough time for her, and she was adopted out for a few days, and the person that adopted her had rabbits. And she is a Jack Russell Terrier, and a lot of times terrier breeds tend to be a little predatory. So the person that adopted her that owned rabbits decided that that was not going to work. So Cindy is back with us now. But again, Jack Russell Terriers can be very tenacious. They can be very predatory, especially when there's smaller animals in the home. So that's just something to consider. One thing that we do in our adoption process is we do have an interview process where we go over everything that we know. We disclose everything that we know about an animal's health, about their temperament, about their behavior, anything that's kind of connected to their breed specificity as far as their behavior might include. And a lot of times we hear from adopters, they want to make it work. They have plans to manage behaviors, and then we have situations such as Cindy where it just didn't work out. So she's back. We don't fault her for her behavior. But if you do have small animals, she would probably not be a good idea to adopt. But if you have small animals and are willing to manage that, and we can certainly help you kind of figure that out, that might work. She is already spayed, she's microchipped, she's current on all vaccines. We've tested her for heartworm, Lyme, Ehrlichia, Anaplasma. She was apparently Lyme positive, so we have gone ahead and started treatment for that. But again, this is Cindy, about 7 to 8 years old, and she is looking for a forever home. This little girl is Bella, and Bella has been on Pet Pals before. She is listed as a satin Angora, and that's per her vet records. And Bella, I guess, had been adopted from the shelter and then turned back in because of the owner's health reasons. And that is part of our contract. We commit to our animals that are brought to the shelter for life. So if an adoption doesn't work out, people that adopt do have the option to bring the animal back here, or rather an obligation to bring the animal back here. So we can reevaluate if it was something in the adoption process, it was something to do with the animal, if we need to perhaps change the marketing on an animal. Maybe we didn't know so much about an animal if it came in as a stray, and then once it's been adopted, we now have more information to make a better placement. But Bella is here now. Bunnies, just like dogs and cats in our facility, anything that's adopted out, dog, cat, or bunny, is spayed or neutered prior to leaving here. So Bella is already spayed because she is a return to shelter. The adoption fee for bunnies is $50, and that includes the spay, the neuter, any care that we provide while they're here. If you are interested in adopting a bunny and you don't have bunny experience, we're happy to educate. Bunnies do require a whole unique diet, very different than dogs and cats. They do require some variety in their diet as far as vegetables. They need to have some, if you're an owner of a bunny, you need to have some observation skills. You want to make sure that their nails and that their teeth are continually either wearing down or trimming their toenails. And they also need a vet visit. Sometimes people are under the misconception that bunnies never need to see a veterinarian, and that's not true. At least once a year you want to make sure that you take your bunny to the vet just to make sure that everything's working okay, kind of check the weight, make sure that they're on a proper diet, and the vet can make recommendations as to anything else your bunny might need. But this is Bella, just one of many bunnies at the shelter. So if you're interested in adopting a bunny, I recommend that you come in and kind of interact, because bunnies are a whole unique species all on their own. This little guy's name is Arnold Palmer, and he actually came in with a friend named Ben Hogan. So they are bonded bunnies. They have to be adopted together. Sometimes people don't understand why we mandate that. Bunnies are prey animals, and a lot of times they just do better. They're social creatures. So if they have a friend that they have lived with for their whole entire lives, that they're friends with, they play with, they get along with, that's one reason why we mandate that they be adopted together. It's the kind thing to do and the right thing to do. Arnold Palmer was turned in with Ben Hogan. People were moving, so they had these guys for a short while, and then they, I guess, acquired them originally from here, and then in their move they could no longer take the bunnies with them. So that's one thing that you need to consider as a responsible pet owner. If you have pets in your family and if you are going to be moving, what would happen to your animals? Ideally, you'll find a place that does accept pets and they can remain with your family, but if you've adopted from us and you're not able to take them with you, then you do need to return them to the shelter. But ideally, again, the better idea is to just plan ahead long term and reconsider. Arnold Palmer is about 8.5 pounds, so he is on the larger side of the bunny weight scale. Bunnies can live, at least 8-10 years with good care. And again, they do need a vet visit at least once a year. A lot of times animals in general are very stoic, so if they are sick, if they're injured, they don't necessarily exhibit symptoms, and they don't necessarily let you know if they're not feeling well. They will just keep pushing through their normal activities without any indication. So an annual checkup is certainly a good idea. But again, this is Arnold Palmer. He is just one of several bunnies that's now available for adoption. So we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we've got some felines that are looking for forever homes.
Can't get enough Zumba in your life? Sign up for any of our Zumba classes held at all of our rec centers throughout the county, including our new Ballinger Community Building and our new To The Point Dance Studio in Point Rocks. Come on, join the Zumba craze, and you'll have so much fun you'll forget you're even working out. For more details on scheduling, check out our website at recreator.com.
Using transit has never been easier for smartphone users with the launch of the Transit EasyFare mobile ticketing app. Simply download the free application onto your Apple or Android device, and you'll have everything you need to plan your next ride right in the palm of your hand. Purchase passes quickly and securely, discover the right route, bus numbers, and departure times for your next ride using the Plan Your Trip feature, and stay informed about scheduling changes and other agency news by visiting Transit's Twitter feed. Plus, with visual validation, your phone never has to leave your hand. To learn more about how the Transit EasyFare app can work for you, visit frederickcountymd.gov/transit or call 301-600-2065. Are you a fan of Facebook? Hooked on Twitter? Now you can stay connected to County Executive Jan Gardner using your favorite social media platforms. Like, follow, and subscribe today.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back to Pet Pals. Now we're going to take a look at some of our kitty cats that are looking for adoptive families. First little guy we're going to take a look at is not quite so little. This is Goliath. He's about 8 to 9 years old, and he is 14.5 pounds. So he is, he's not really he's a little bit overweight, but he's more of a solid cat. An average cat weighs about 8 to 9 pounds, but he's got a larger frame, and he's got a lot of fur. So if you're thinking about adopting a cat like this, you want to make sure that you know how to run a vacuum and a brush. Vacuum for the floor and the brush for the cat. But again, 8 to 9 years old, and believe it or not, this handsome social being came to us as a stray animal from Old Annapolis Road in Frederick. So sometimes we get animals in and they're so well cared for and so social and friendly and vocal, and that's Goliath. But we can't understand why an owner's not come forward for him. He's been here since August 29th. We hold stray animals for 5 days that in hopes that their owners will come forward if they're missing them. But in the case of Goliath, he's been here for quite a long time now, over 3 weeks, and nobody's come for him. So he is available on the adoption floor. Prior to leaving here, he will be neutered, he will be microchipped. So far in his stay here, he's been vaccinated, he's been tested and tested negative for feline leukemia and feline immunodeficiency virus, and he is just a love. He's color-coded green, meaning that he's a little bit rambunctious, not necessarily agreeable to being handled, but as you can tell, he's kind of acclimated well since he's been here at the shelter. So if you are interested in a long-haired cat, he certainly would be an excellent choice. This handsome guy has also been on Pet Pals before. This is Bo. Bo is about 4 years old, and he is current on all vaccines. He is already neutered, microchipped. He's a return to shelter, and he's been here at the shelter. This is his second go-round. The first time he was turned in a couple of years ago was turned in by an owner who was moving and could not take him along. And then we adopted him out to people who had him for a couple of years, and now they are moving and can't take him along. So again, in the long-term scheme of things, if you have a pet in your family, you really want to give consideration to what happens to them if you're going to move. Our goal in the adoption aspect is to adopt animals out forever. That's what they deserve. That's what responsible pet owners do. They try to take into consideration changes in their life that will how to keep their pets when things change in life, and certainly life sometimes throws curveballs. But Bo is here again a second time just because his owners were moving and could not take him along. He is front declawed. That is something that we do not advocate here at the shelter, but it was done, and now he's with us. So if you're looking for a front declawed cat, Bo has a great personality. He's very sweet. He's a little camera shy this morning, but typically very agreeable to being handled, to being brushed, and very social. So if you're looking for a kitty cat like that, Bo would be a good choice for your family. For any of our viewers that like long-haired or medium-haired cats, it seems like we have quite a collection this week. This is Sammy. He is a domestic long-hair. He is 17 pounds and a few ounces. So he would need some weight management as far as measuring his food. The best way to slim down a cat is to make sure to start with measuring their food. So many cat owners just keep filling up the food bowl and allowing the cat to eat free choice. And if you're not measuring, you just don't know how many calories they're actually consuming. So starting to either feed him twice a day and measure that food, that will give you a starting point, and then discuss with your veterinarian which diet he should be on and how much of that diet he should be getting. That would certainly go miles as far as allowing him to slim down a little bit. 17 pounds is not a good weight for him. Probably 15 would be a better weight. And again, with cats, as with any animals, you don't want to make him lose that weight all at once. It needs to be done slowly over time. So reducing calories, increasing activity, the same thing that you hear about people goes for cats as well. Sammy is about 7 years old. He is current on vaccines. He's already neutered and microchipped, and he was turned in by an owner. And sometimes we know that situations arise where owners really don't have a choice as to what to do with their pets, especially if they don't have family or friends that can take them. And Sammy's owner was experiencing or developing dementia. So that's how Sammy ended up being with us. But he's in good hands. We will place him appropriately. And again, he does have that longer fur, so he's going to need somebody that can maintain his coat. With that much fur and considering his weight, he's not able to maintain it on his own. He's a sweet little cat, very social, seemingly agreeable to being handled. So if you're interested in a cat that's only about 7 years old, that's got beautiful long fur, Sammy would be an excellent choice for your family. So we've been pretty surprised at the number of kittens that are still coming into the shelter this time of year. Usually by now that population has slowed down a little bit, but we're still seeing underage kittens. We are still sending them into foster care, and they are still returning to the shelter. And Munster is just one example. He came in as an underage kitten, 5 to 6 weeks old, back in August. So now he is about 12 weeks old, and he has been in foster care. So a lot of times, and you'll hear me say this repeatedly, that people come into the shelter looking specifically for kittens that have been in foster care. They've had great experiences prior. They know how social they are. They know how friendly they are. They know how healthy they are. And they know how they behave in a home environment. So this little guy is Munster. He is a gorgeous, just your classic black and white domestic short hair. He's almost 4 pounds. Prior to leaving here, he will be microchipped, neutered. He is current on all vaccines, tested negative for feline leukemia and feline immunodeficiency virus. Part of the adoption process, one of the questions that we get is how long does it take to adopt one of these adorable little kittens? And usually 2 to 3 days. The reason for the delay primarily is that we spay and neuter all of the kittens prior to leaving the shelter. So that sometimes causes just a couple of days delay, but usually within 48 hours, 72 hours, from the time you put in an adoption application, we will have a kitten ready to go. So again, this is Munster. If you have been waiting patiently and now is a good time for you to adopt kittens, I highly recommend that you show up to the shelter and just visit, because we've got a number of them available for adoption. So the last little kitty cat we're going to take a look at this week is Peaches. Peaches is a little boy, and he is also a product of foster care. And earlier we had looked at Goliath, who was our large orange tabby male. I'm guessing that Goliath looked a lot like Peaches when he was much younger. Peaches is only about 3 months old, just returned from foster care. Prior to leaving here, he will be neutered, he will be microchipped, he'll be current on all the vaccines that he needs, and as a domestic medium hair, he will need an owner that knows their way around a brush, that knows their way around a vacuum cleaner and a Swiffer or something that would clean up some of the extra hair. Long-haired cats typically, overall, are not any more work than short-haired cats, providing that you do the preemptive at least once a week brushing him. And you have a total advantage having a kitten, because at this age you can get him used to just the fact that at least once a week we're going to sit you on our lap and kind of brush out all the extra hair. And that will prevent mats in the future, and that will prevent a lot of other issues that can accompany mats in long-haired cats. But Peaches has been around young adults. He's been around a pretty active foster care home with people coming and going to work. He's been used to a home environment. He came in actually just about 3 or 4 weeks ago as an underage kitten. So we do have a very strong foster care community. If you have ever considered taking on an animal temporarily, that you can't commit to a full-time pet, but you want to maybe hang on to a kitten for a few weeks until it's old enough to be adopted, please consider foster care for the shelter. The process is pretty simple. You just fill out an application. We do a home visit, and it's not really to look and see how clean your house is. We want to come to your home so we can get some uninterrupted time where we can answer your questions and kind of look around and see where you might be housing a foster care animal and make sure that all that is appropriate. So, so those are some of the options. If you're not, if you enjoy watching Pet Pals, if you enjoy visiting the shelter and you can't actually have a pet of your own, fostering is the next best thing. So again, this is Peaches. He's just one of many, many kittens now on the adoption floor looking for forever homes. Thank you for joining us this week on Pet Pals. If you've seen any animals here that you're interested in, or if you have neighbors or friends that might be interested in adopting, you want to make sure that you send them out to the shelter. Have a great week, and we will see you next time on Pet Pals.